way we see things. My daughter was telling me that, do you know why you can't easily catch a housefly or a mosquito? He says the mosquito and a housefly sees your hand as a slow motion. So as you are coming towards them, they're able to dodge. And I said, what a revelation. Because you see, spiritually speaking, the watchers see intent, mindset, plan, and then they begin to take action. So in the book of Numbers chapter 11, you will see that the watchers, or God said that the people is one, and they have decided to do something, and if you don't stop them, they will be able to execute it. So you see, a nation that doesn't make plans, a nation that doesn't make decisions is going nowhere. And you see, in the realms of the spirit, there are portals, and these portals, they watch the activity, they watch even personality, who is president, who is leading the nation, before they look at saying no, whether to attack or not to attack. Now, if you look at the spiritual realm currently, there was a leasehold on Africa, and this leasehold has been broken, and is breaking and has to break completely. And it's going to be based on what we do between now and the next, I think we are in 2025, right? And so in the next, by 5 years' time, it should have been executed. And by 5 years' time, Africa will know whether it's going to take over what we call, in the layman's language, if we're in the church, what we call the 7 mountains, which is a mountain of economy, the mountain of entertainment, the mountain of family, the religious mountain, you name them. So the mountain of entertainment and so on and so forth. So these mountains are supposed to be taken over by the church. As you look prophetically, if you are in Africa or in Ghana, gone were the days that if you invited somebody from abroad as a minister to come to, whether it's a musician or it's a pastor, to come to our stadium, the stadium gets full. But currently, if you invite somebody from even our neighborhood, Nigeria or Ghana, we are able to sit our own stadium without them. Our people also go to other nations of the world, in Europe and America, and they're able to take over their stadia, which sometimes they themselves can't do that on their own. This is to tell you strategically that the African is being seen differently. When it comes to the religious mountain, kudos to the church. Even though that prophetically the church is lacking, especially the church in Ghana is lacking in what I would call, or the what you have to call, total consecration. Now, consecration is different from concentration. Consecration has to do with totally being committed to the assignment, with the rules and regulations or the rules of engagement being put in together. And so as we said now, you can see nations like Niger, you can put nations like how do you call it, Burkina Faso and Mali. You might call it coup d'etat and co. It was part of the decision of the heavenly beings. And even with these ones, I can see the other people, the so-called masters, colonial masters, really trying to get some of our own Africans, indigenous, to fight it like they did with Gaddafi, to take over. Because you see, no one can enter into our houses, Jesus said, until you first bind the strong man. And how we say it in our local language, so you see, the system is looking for people in the nation to be able to topple the governments that be, just like they did to former President Nkrumah. But you see, if we are not careful as a nation like Ghana, what will happen to us if this season passes us by? We are going to be in big trouble. Now, even with the religious mountain, as we speak now, Ghanaian prophets, that is the gate the Lord has given us. Just as Nigeria has the apostolic, the most of our prophets are not totally consecrated. So because of that, we are not having enough of it. Now, there's a major prophet in Ghana, I'm not mentioning names for now, that if he gets himself so consecrated and stop being on social media, it will shock you that the whites, the foreigners, will start trooping to his church. They will start running to the church for deliverance, for what is the Lord saying. But you see, sometimes the enemy has people who intentionally engage us. And they engage us for us to meddle in things we don't have to meddle ourselves in. And all these are kinds of distractions to take us away from the will of God. Now, if you look at Luke chapter 8, you will see that when Jesus decided to visit the madman of Gathering, on his way to the place, he encountered what we will call a storm on the sea. And he and his cabinet ministers, if I should put his 12 apostles, were in trouble. And the cabinet ministers did everything. Peter was thinking that he has an experience in fishing, so he was trying to calm the storm, but it was not happening. And the Bible said Jesus was sleeping in the boat until the disciples woke him up and said, "Careth not that we perish." Then Jesus woke up and said, "Peace be still." Now, I like what Jesus said, that peace be still, because Lamentations 3:17 says that without peace, there's no prosperity. And you see, Africa needs some kind of peace in order to prosper. And for us to have that kind of peace, we need to stop allowing the foreigners to meddle in our affairs. By the grace of God, a lot of things is happening. If you listen to my message 4 years ago, and I've said you should put a video there, I re-echoed it, I think last year, around, last 2 years, I think the last 3 years. I echoed it, or last year, January. It will be around the same time last year. I echoed it, and you see, what is happening is that you can hear countries like what is happening in the US, Trump, on the blacks and all this. And listen, it's not going to be coming from only Trump. A lot of our indigenes, a lot of our people who have learned a lot, I call them the Daniels, the Shadrach, the Meshach, Abednego, the Ezras, the Esthers, the Mordecais, are going to help us from where we are in Africa, especially in Ghana, to come and be of help to our nations. Now, a lot of people have gained so much expertise, a lot of ideas. The interesting thing about countries like Japan, countries like China, when they send their people out there to go and learn, they came back home and brought those things to revolutionize or to change their nation. But what is happening in Africa is that we go and we don't come back because there's a problem of, and I thank God our president, John Mahama, His Excellency, has said that he's resetting the nation. That is a good cause that the watchers have really embraced. But you see, we need to pray for President Mahama to be very bold. His heart is good. His heart is genuine. But he needs some kind of boldness and audacity to be able to implement what the Lord has put on his heart. And I'll urge the prophets and the apostles who are around him to be very strong and to be very vigilant and intercede for him. In the book of Daniel chapter 9, Daniel entered into a watchers meeting by virtue of the fact that he said, Daniel chapter 9 said, I, Daniel, understood by the books that the captivity of Israel is supposed to be over by 70. Prophetically, Ghana is about to celebrate 6 to 8 years, and we have 2 years to get into our 70th year. And by the time we get into the 70th year, and I believe that the president would have been President Mahama would have been in his 3rd year, certain things are going to happen to our nation Ghana, which I want to believe God to say some in a parable, some in a riddle, and some straightforward. Now, the technicality of this thing is that our president must reset our nation and make sure that our institutions work. That's one of the things that the watchers watch. And I hear the Lord telling that, Francis, tell our president that as I was with Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, I'm going to be with him to reset the nation and make the foundation right. But you see, a lot of the reasons why most people in the diaspora are not ready to invest and come back home to work is that the system doesn't work or is porous. And if our president wants it to happen very well, like it's happening to places like Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, foreigners who have set up line. There's even a problem about to arise in South Africa, where a lot of the whites are going to have a lot of problems again, because as they are sacking the black man, or the black man in other countries are becoming uncomfortable, the black man is going to start looking back home as how to help. Nehemiah will tell you that in Nehemiah chapter 2 that he was eating with the king. He was in the king's palace and his face changed, and the king asked him, why is your countenance down? And Nehemiah said that I can't sit here and enjoy, and I'll see that my people, the walls of my nation are broken down. The temple is no more structured. Now, the truth is that a lot of people who are in the diaspora have a problem with the walls of our nation and how it is broken down. The walls we have everything in Ghana, we have everything in Africa, but the walls are broken down. The police institution, the judiciary, the land system, all these things makes it very difficult, because any nation that lacks peace cannot have prosperity. And Psalm 122 said, peace be within your walls and prosperity will be in your palace. So for prosperity to be in our palace, we must let our walls have peace. And in going for when Daniel understood by the books, Daniel began to intercede and pray, because see, As we are getting near Ghana at 70, we need to advise our president to engage the watchers, the gatekeepers of our nation. There are some of them who are around him, but you see, they need to be engaged, and I know some of them, based on some meetings I've been to spiritually, are already praying. But you see, when it comes, the mandate comes from the presidency, it becomes very helpful. When the mandate comes from the top, it becomes very helpful. Where behind the scenes, they will begin to deal with our presidency without being made public. I repeat, without being made public. Because you see, the things of God can easily be ridiculed by people who don't understand what the spiritual thing is all about. The carnal mind is enmity to God. It will never understand the will of God. When Daniel was deciding the fate, before the Ezra and the Nehemiah will come in, Daniel had already interceded and dealt with the prince of Persia. There's a principality that is governing Africa, and its hold is being broken by the intercessors and the saints. But the problem is, how do we get our structures to work? One of the things you can see is that a lot of the time you say things about the church, that the churches are building a lot of things, the churches are building mighty buildings, the churches are building things. But the interesting thing is that the taxes the government receive, the taxes and things the government get, if it's able to utilize it like some of the pastors, what they even use the money for, I think our nation will develop. You can see a pastor that will move into a village. He will collect 2 cities, 1 city collection. The next moment, he's built a building. And people are saying, and he's driving good cars or whatever car. We are saying, these men of God, they are really living large and big. But we are also seeing that at least if even they are building something. Of course, some are doing nothing. But if you come to our nation, there are a lot of taxes being taken. There are a lot of money circulating around. And yet we don't see those things happening in our nation. Now, the watchers have agreed that people are returning home. And it's not like they are, the nations hate us. But it's because God is putting it in such a way that very soon the people in the diaspora, Ghanaians especially, will start putting pressure on our system. They will start engaging the system that, hey, we want to come home, but let's get our structures working. Let's get our institutions working. When Daniel began to deal with the prince of Persia, all that angel Gabriel came and told him that since the first day he began to pray, your prayer was answered, and that this is what you need to do for your people to come out of captivity. What was he looking for? It was only information. Just receiving information was the reason why the prince of Persia kept the prayers delayed for 21 days. Now, there was a prophecy that Israel will be out of captivity in 400 years, but they were in captivity for 430 years because they rejected the deliverer. They rejected the deliverer as the person of Moses. But I like it, in the days of Daniel, Daniel was not rejected because Daniel worked behind the scene. But if you look at Daniel, Daniel was so consecrated. Now, if I say consecrated, let me go a bit into it. Daniel was an Enoch. Shadrach, Meshach was an Enoch. So you realize that their lifestyle and the things they did was such that they were so committed to their government. They were not committed to a political party. Daniel served Darius, Cyrus, Daniel served Nebuchadnezzar. And anytime there was a trouble, many don't take care of son. They have to call Daniel in, and Daniel will be ready to be. We are looking for men and women of God that the Lord has consecrated, that will not be in favor of party A or party B or party C and what they need to present. And you see, we as Africans must sit up and start telling the colonial masters, or follow my colonial masters, that we have what it takes to survive. I like what the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said, that Africa has what it takes to take over the world, and I believe it. And for me to do that, I see President Mahama coming in with what we call homegrown ideas. I mean, I'm doing this today because I know tomorrow or so he's coming with a state of the nation. I don't know what he's going to present, but these homegrown ideas are the only thing that is going to save us. You see, only homegrown ideas are going to save our nation. And that is what people like, how do we call it, Niger, Mali, and Co. are doing. Homegrown ideas is saving the nation. And guess what we are having to happen? The system is fighting them. Why is the system fighting them? The system is fighting them because they know that it's homegrown ideas that will liberate us from the stings of the white man. Most of these nations, they are virtually nothing, but yet they end up doing what? They end up colonizing us and telling us what to do. A time is coming that a white man or the so-called bosses are going to find visas very difficult to come to Africa, because Africa is the nation to be in. Africa is the peace to be in. Now, one of the things that we have seen, and here I give kudos to Honorable Sam George from what he has been doing on the lesbianism and the gayism. You realize that the religious mountain is gaining momentum. Whereas the religious mountain is gaining, the family system of the world has crashed down. And the family system of the world has crashed down. And what has crashed down is what God has brought in someone like Donald Trump to come and put in together. Now, Africa or Ghana must also be very firm on that LGBTQ. This area is very, very important for our liberation, so as we don't incur the wrath of Jehovah God. Now, there are going to come a lot of backlash on us for taking homegrown policies. And some of the things that will happen is that because the president is going to take a lot of homegrown policies, the indigenous or the Ghanaian is going to have to tighten his belt, because what is going to happen is that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to lose. If we read the Luke 8 version, when Jesus went to meet the madman of Gadarene and got the madman of Gadarene delivered, the indigenous told Jesus to go away. I thought this man has come to a nation to save the madman, and an intelligent man who has been put in prison. The Bible said no one could tame him. He could take stones and cut himself. Sometimes Africa, we hurt ourselves. We do things that we know very well is going to help, is going to hurt each other, but we do it because we are under a kind of spell. By the grace of God, this lease has been broken. I don't know whether the internet is doing well, but I'm still going to continue because the internet is gone off. But hear me, we are still going to continue. Now, what is happening is that we are going to have a lot of people who feel like they are going to lose the dollar trade. The post who are doing import export, and they are bringing a lot of things imported to Ghana. When the president brings in things to help stop the importation of second-hand Obuniwehu, we are going to see people from Katamanto and Co coming to fight. We are going to have a lot of people who are importing rice, who are importing chicken, and all those things coming to fight the president. But a lot of the time, they will not come positively, or they will not come as if they are whatever. But behind the scenes, it is their own economic interest. But let me tell you this: for Ghana to have its economic interest, we must start looking at homegrown policies. And homegrown policy is going to affect everybody. It's going to affect me, it's going to affect you. But in the long run, within a space of 5-6 years, Ghana and Africa will start putting on the right clothes, and everybody will begin to become happy. Sometimes I'm a father, and when I have to buy things for my daughter, I have to look at the school fees coming, and because of the school fees, I might have to delay gravitation, so that I'll be able to give the child what he needs tomorrow. For us to have what we need tomorrow, we must intentionally decide to delay. It's like we like buying things we don't need. Someone asked me that, how can you use that car you are using since 2011? I said, yes, I'm using this car. It's over 10 years. It goes and it comes in because I need to build something for the Lord. And that is what is costing me. In that same way, it's going to cost we in Ghana to build something to make our nation great and strong. Now, I like what last time I heard Mr. Kennedy Japan say something. He said, pizza was then 50 Ghana cedis and cement was 50 Ghana cedis. He said most who are building their buildings in their stomach. You see, we need to look at certain things, cut our throat, and decide to look into homegrown policies to help us. Now, those of you who are in the diaspora, the world, Europe, America, UK, listen, don't cease to call for the right things being done. We need it. We need because especially concern the 24-hour economy. A lot of people who are outside do 2-3 jobs to survive. Over here in Ghana, we just do one. We come home, we go and play draft. We go to church and go and pray. I'm not saying going to church to go and pray is wrong. A lot of people go to church even in the morning to pray. The good news about it, most of them have no jobs. So it's a way of putting them out on the streets. But you see, if there is enough job for people to do, sometimes you go to Europe and say in Europe people don't go to church like that. It's not true. People go to church a lot in Europe, not in the Orthodox church, but you go to charismatic churches in Europe and you go to charismatic churches in the US. I've been there. You see the auditoriums filled with people, not just black, but even white. But it is not at the expense of productivity. That is what we should look at. And I believe that we need a lot to do to bounce back as indigents of our nation. Because there's a prophetic word in Zephaniah 3:10 that the people beyond the rivers of Ethiopia will bring God a perfect sacrifice. Now, the economic mountain can only be gotten by internal homegrown ideas. And a lot of you out there, even our president, there's a lot of homegrown ideas, but I plead with you, don't be afraid to bring it up. There are people who are ready to support. Others might suffer, and others might decide not to be part of it because of their personal reason. Now, somebody will say, I've been hearing a lot of people say that MPP is going to take a long time to come to power. Yes, it will take a long time, but there's one key. There are about 17 keys, but today I'll only release one key. The first key for MPP to really bounce back is to have a new image and a new face. If you bring the old image, the old face, you'll still be in opposition for a long time. You see, from the watcher's perspective, everything can be changed. It all has to do with a mindset. So if MPP comes with a new face, and listen, I think last year, October, during our program with Can God, I called some of the MPP executives in the church publicly. It's also online. And I told them that MPP is going to go to opposition, but if they will come up with a new face, then their captivity will be short-lived. But they still want to strive with the, with the old faces and all that, then we are going to have a long time getting out of the captivity. Moving back, we are going to have a lot of internal shocks. Now, the internal shocks will be intentional. There'll be external shocks. Now, what is happening to the world where Ukraine and Russia were all part of the plot of the watchers to make sure that Africa depends on itself. We have enough to take care of ourselves in terms of food. We have enough to build the factories. We have enough workforce. We have everything. But you see, former President Kufuor said something which I always say, that the government pretends to pay and workers pretend to work. So you see, what I'm trying to say here is that government must begin to look at paying people right because they do the right work. And workers must also begin to work right. And I believe that a 24-hour shift system where people can work in 3 different shifts of 8 hours or whatever, or 6 hours or whatever, is going to help us to really have a system of accountability where somebody needs to be accountable to somebody. And so it's going to go a long way to break us free from some monopoly. And thank God that some countries have to get coup d'etats to let them wake up. Those of us under democracy, let us not wait for an uprising. Let us begin to be together and help each other to succeed. To those in opposition, listen, we should all come together to have homegrown policies, whether in party A or party B. And why? Because when the stage is set and everybody is doing well, everybody is going to be successful. Everybody is going to make it. It doesn't matter whether in party A or party B. When I've seen it that when the people who are in opposition, then people are in opposition, just 1 week or 2 in opposition, they are complaining, saying that we didn't do right. Why didn't you? Why should we all do the same? That's why. And I'm surprised that you didn't say this thing when you were in power. I've seen some people who have gone silent, some astute lawyers and learned people who were quiet when NDC was in opposition. Now they are talking. It's like now they found their mouth. But let me tell you this, that I'm happy you have come up, but let's not be partisan. Let us become nationalistic. Let's put away, like Joseph, let's put away our cloak of many colors and put on the robe that will give us the answers we need. Well, listen to me. If we don't begin to look at that area, then we'll take everybody's dream and throw it away. I see a nation that is coming together for a common goal and a common purpose, after which the watchers will come and say the people is one and there's nothing they cannot do. And when they see that there's nothing we cannot do to build our nation, Ghana, then we, the intercessors, the watchers, the gatekeepers, will begin to do what is right, to intercede and speak on behalf of the nation for the right thing to be done. First and foremost, the research should not be looking just at people. The attack should not be on people. It should be on institutions, systems. When the system is right, and I, FD Yalley, I make a mistake, I will be the one to surrender because I know that the system is right. But when the system is not good, everybody is going to suffer. Most people want to bring in, there's a goodwill for our president, and most people from the watcher's point of view want to bring in a lot of resources to help our nation. But the insecurity is so high. Now, interestingly, what former President Rawlings did in his days of asking people who had issues with money too much to account for it, and how Nanado also came in with cutting the head cards, and then certain policies coming on. If you have foreign currency in the nation, this is what is going to happen. Have made a lot of people save outside our nation, which is helping other nations develop. But we need to have homegrown policies where Ghanaians will be asked to invest. Whether you stole the money, you have the money. If let's take that we open a factory, whether it's tomatoes factory or rice factory, and Ghanaians can trust the system to invest in, and they know that their money is going to come back to them, they are going to come in. So we should not only look at the treasury bills and go, we should look at businesses that government is going to be run, and whereby the people who have interest in it, who pump their money, and then shareholders will have the right to decide who manages it. And I believe as we come in with some of these homegrown policies, we are going to have a lot of money coming into our nation. In the area of health, I see a lot of development coming in the area of health, where a lot of our health practitioners will be ready to come home, especially with the shift 10 system we are going to do in aggregate. They are going to come home, but we need to make sure that people's money can be trusted. People's investment can be trusted. Now, the gatekeepers that are even spiritually manning the gate are even confused, because they don't know who to allow in and who not to allow in. Why? Because let me give an example. I said this thing last year and early part of last year when I said that the watchers meeting where those who belong to the NPP, the system wanted Nanado should have handed over to, and some of you heard me say it, to Dr. Baumia Yalley. And I'm happy the report that came says it, because that was, they wanted Dr. Baumia to have brought his homegrown, what he wanted to do, so that the system would check it up. But it didn't happen. And at the end of the day, maybe Mahama was still going to win the election. But if he won the margin would not have been that wide. You see, so the more you disobey the systems, and let me tell you, most people don't understand the spiritual system. But you see, whatever happens on earth, Jesus teaching the model prayer said, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So you see, whatever transpires on earth would have already transpired in the spiritual, in the heavenly beings. And if you don't understand it, you might easily argue. I'm hearing many men of God who don't even understand how this thing works, arguing and saying all kinds of things, and I don't doubt them. Why I don't doubt them? You see, if you go to school and you never saw a computer and they put a mouse in front of you, you don't know what's a mouse. Many have studied the Bible and they've been teaching the Bible for years, but they've not experienced it, they've not encountered it. So when you talk to them, they will tell you that it's not true, there's no realm out there. If there's no realm out there, then there's no heaven, then there's no hell, but there's a realm out there. I always say that just as the ant has a world, and as soon as you have sugar, wherever the ants are, they will come around and come and eat it. When you start having mangoes in your house, wherever the house lights will come around the house. Whenever you have light in your house and it rains, you should expect certain flies to come around. So your activity in geography will say that the activity on earth affects rainfall pattern. If there's no smoke or there's no dust, it affects rainfall pattern. In that same way, when there's no development, there's no activity, the spiritual beings and the prayers of the saints will not have effect on earth. So I'm going to come back again, because as we are heading towards 70 years, as we're going to celebrate 68 years, Ghana should begin to embrace homegrown policies. And if you are in the diaspora, if you are in the world out there, you are in Europe, you are in America, and there are things you know about coming home, let us know. Because by the grace of God, some people in government, whether in opposition, watch some of our channels. And I believe some of these things are going to help us. Many want to invest home, because home is home. There are many people who have built houses in Ghana that are still working in Europe and America, in Asia, and they only come down on Christmas Day to come and enjoy the house. Why can't they come home? The system is not good. Security is a problem. Security is a problem. And it's high time we pray for our president-elect, and which I'm doing, which also must join, to have the boldness, the audacity, the courage to implement it. His heart is good, but he needs the boldness. He will not favor everybody. And when it happens like that, his own party will begin to rise up against him. And when that also happens, Ghanaians must support him. Because listen, we are building Ghana. We are not building NDC. We are not building MPP. My name is FD Yalley. When I'm led again, I will come again to continue. But Ghana, at 68, we have 2 years to break a pattern. Let's come home with our homegrown policies. You can do it. I can do it. You can help. I can help. Let's all come together and let the watchers know that no foreigner can change our destiny for us. Change doesn't happen because it is New Year. Change happens because you made a decision. The decisions of today will decide your tomorrow. Where I am today is because of the decisions I made years ago. And the decisions we are making as a nation will determine where we'll be tomorrow. Let's decide our tomorrow by the decisions of today. My name is FD Yalley, your friend and your brother. God bless you. Thank you for making time. Share this video, comment. Feel free to say whatever you want to say. I speak from my perspective. What is your perspective? God bless you.